Good morning, everyone. I'm Nandita Venkateshan. Okay, so let me start by Smeesh now by asking you all a small question. Okay. So imagine you all are students out here. So imagine you have an important group assignment to submit in say 3 hours. Hectic brainstorming and discussions are happening. So you're tired and you want to take a quick nap and get refreshed. You tell your group mates that you would like to sleep for just 15 minutes and then wake up and then rejoin the discussion. Okay? You wake up and then suddenly everything has gone silent around you. You can see your friends talking to you. You can see your group mates talking to you. But you can't hear any sound at all. You have your submission in 1 hour and you just don't know what is going on. How will you feel then? Confused? Scared? As if you're still in a dream, maybe? क्या चल रहा पता नहीं है. This is not a dream though. This really happened with me. I spoke to my brother and went for 15-minute nap. I woke up to complete silence. I could see my brother talking to me. I could see the TV playing in front of me. I could see the music playing in my mobile. But there was no sound in my world at all. And just like that, my dear friends out here, my life changed forever. That's it. Just in a matter of 15 minutes. Let me tell you my story now to everyone here. I am a tuberculosis survivor and a hearing impaired person. I lost my hearing due to a very rare side effect of an anti-tuberculosis drug. Most people think of TB as a lung disease, as a poor man's disease, as an uncommon disease, no one really expects to encounter. But did you know the fact that TB is among the top 10 causes of death in the world and can affect many other parts of the body besides the lungs? As a 17-year-old studying at the Ram Narayan Ruya College in Mumbai, I was struck by the TB of the intestine, which is a very rare form of the disease. I used to have constant severe stomach pain, nausea, vomiting most of the times. I was on a course of a very strong medication in college that required me taking up to 15 tablets several times a day. So, because of that, I struggled to complete my college life. I could not retain my self-confidence for a while. And I could not lead a normal college life fully. Yes, after 2 years of treatment, I was finally declared TB-free. But the psychological scars that was there took a while to heal. So for some time after that, I used to think that every time I used to get a fever, it was something related to TB, and I used to get very scared and I used to panic. After that, I went on to do my post-graduation at the premier Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi, and I started working there. I then decided to return to Mumbai, and I wanted to pursue financial journalism. So I had enrolled for a financial management course at a very prominent management institute, Wellinger Institute of Management. I wanted to become a financial journalist. I was doing extremely well in the course. I was among the top 3 performers in my class. I was looking to kickstart my career. I was also in the pink of health. And then suddenly, all of that came to a grinding halt. 6 months into my course, I started feeling that very familiar stomach pain in my lower abdomen here. I then went to the doctor, and my worst fears came true. It was the return of tuberculosis once again in my life. It was a very, very big shocker for me. I am in the middle of my career and I get TB once again. The doctor then advised me that I should go for a surgery to remove the infected portion of the intestine. I was then assured that I would be back on track and I could live a normal life after that. I was frankly terrified. I had always dreaded hospitals, to be frank. You know, hospital for me was a place where old people go at the end of their life for treatment. Not me at the age of 23 to be admitted in one hospital. Never. But I was about to learn that differently now. What was supposed to be one surgery and a 10-day hospital stay spiraled to 6 surgeries and an endless nightmare after nightmare for me. The infection started spreading to other organs in my body, and I developed complication after complication after complication, which was refusing to end at all. After 2 months of teetering between life and death, I finally had to have an ileostomy, which is a rare surgery, a very specialized surgery, wherein the doctors surgically removed the infected portion of the intestine and the rest of it was sealed off so that it could let it heal. So, for the next 8 months, all the waste passed out of my body through an artificial hole made here into a pouch or a bag called the stoma. So, it was frankly a very bad sight to see your stools and feces coming out from here into a bag. But that was what had to be done. No. By this time, I was also a shadow of my former self. I was down to 32 kgs. I had bald patches all over my head. My abdomen was like a scarred battlefield full of blood and scars and wounds everywhere. From an independent, outgoing girl, I had turned into a complete recluse, racked with pain and daily emergencies after emergencies. I was confined to the bed. My left leg had got twisted in a very weird way, due to which I was not able to walk without support for close to 2 years. The loss of mobility, independence, and connections with my friends were the hardest to bear for me. All of this at 23 years. I didn't even know if I'm going to survive all this. No. All I knew was that I am not going to give up at any stage, ever. I will not give up. That is all I knew. I may not survive, I may not see my parents the very next year. I didn't even know. We didn't even know if I'm going to celebrate my 24th birthday. It was that critical. You can see the photo over there. But I had made up my mind. I'm going to see this through and I'm not going to give up. But the biggest twist in my life was yet to arrive at my doorstep right then. On 22nd November 2013, 2 days after I celebrated my 24th birthday, I suddenly lost my hearing. Suddenly. Soundless world was in front of me, right there. I lost my hearing all of a sudden. Like I had said, 2 days after I celebrated my 24th birthday with my family and with my friends. Till that point of my life, I had no knowledge of what disability was. No, no, I had no exposure to disability ever. Besides going to a blind school as a school student to study value education that all of us do, I had no exposure to this. Isn't this true for all of us sitting here? No. Isn't this true for everyone here? That as persons with normal abilities, we have no idea about what the challenges and problems are for persons with disabilities. We have no idea. We tend to take our normal abilities for granted very easily and go on in life. I also did the same. So, the biggest challenge then for me was to communicate. Communication was my biggest challenge. I could not hear. I had to now communicate with a hearing, speaking world out there. How am I going to communicate now? What am I supposed to do? It was time now to find some solutions, not sit and cry. So I started reading about disability. I started educating myself and reading endlessly to answer all the questions I had in my mind. For example, what are the kinds of hearing impairment? What are the technologies available to assist the hearing impaired? What are the technologies available so that the hearing impaired can be helped at a workplace, so on and so forth. Lots of questions in my mind. And I started to see that I should now read and find out what was it. It was time to educate myself. But even while I was educating myself, I had to deal with day-to-day problems as well. Day-to-day challenges were there. For example, I could no longer call. I could no longer watch TV. I could no longer listen to music. Heck, for that matter, I could not even keep an alarm clock to wake up or receive the doorbell at the home simply because I can't hear. So what am I supposed to do now? Will I ever be independent in my life the way I was? I was a very keen Bharatanatyam dancer. Will I ever dance again in my life? I didn't know that. So deeply, deeply depressed, I retreated into my shell and became even more of a recluse. After some time of pitying myself and crying, I finally realized this was getting me nowhere. It was time now to find some solutions again. I tried to find the small windows of opportunity and hope amidst all the closed doors around me. It was at that point that I took to dance again. I started dancing. Yes, I could not hear. Yes, I could not hear the music at all. But I could feel the vibrations of the rhythm through my hearing aid. And using that, I slowly started relearning the process of dancing again. And then I went on to give performances here. I have to say that the whole process of dancing and learning was very, very cathartic, and it helped me embrace all the new tunes that I was having in my life with renewed confidence and grace. Process of dancing and the process of learning. We all of us I think need that one agency through which we can channelize all our pent-up frustrations and, guilt and whatever we have, all the anger, whatever we have in our mind. We all need that one agency. For some, it could be painting. For some, it could be strumming the guitar or say music. Could be you listening to music. Anything it could be. No, dance was that for me. These performances were highly appreciated by everyone. And then I slowly started dancing again, and I gave all performances here without hearing to music. After that, I decided that I should now go back to work. Joining work for me was a way to empower myself financially, emotionally, everything. I had to go back to work. I can no longer be a recluse and stay at home. So, after that, I started working with the Economic Times. I am the only person with disabilities in the Economic Times editorial. An achievement, well, maybe I could say so, but it made me aware of the lots of challenges that are coming up for me in a wider social and professional environment away from home and from your comfort zone. So, for example, whether it was bantering with friends, whether it was having those coffee machine conversations with your colleagues, or checking out that cute guy in office over there from the wahan se dekhna, are yaar cute banda wahan par, all of that, or attending business meetings for that matter. I could not follow what was going on. So, yes, I have learned to lip read, no doubt. But a person needs to talk to me slowly and enunciate clearly the way I'm saying now for me to understand. Because I lip read you. Sometimes you may even need to write it down or we need to repeat so that I follow you. This is generally an uphill task for everyone. Most people tend to stop communicating beyond absolutely what is required. And this tends to dehumanize the whole process of conversation. People do not have the patience these days at all. So, you need the patience to talk, which is lacking among everyone. For example, this is a poem by a very famous poet which says, "No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." Without the bridge of personal interactions, like I have said, a hearing impaired person exactly becomes that, an island. That's it, an island. Moreover, preconceived notions about what a person with disabilities would look like doesn't help either. Most of us tend to draw our images from the stereotypes and caricatures shown in our movies and serials. So basically, someone who has some disabilities will be a down, sad-faced, always sad down about life, exactly not well-dressed, making some crooked, abnormal expression, something like this. And then, abnormal, crooked expressions, that we show in our films. And basically some brainless object of fun, for example. You're seeing me, I am nothing like that. I'm standing and talking to you right now. Most of our films, whether it is Houseful, all the Sajid Khan films, or whether it is Bodyguard, where some person, I think, who had a small height was called Handbag or Hand Film or something, Handbag, I think. So, yeah, so then most of our films, we tend to imaginally draw our caricatures from films about how a person with disabilities would look like. Can you believe it? I have actually been asked bizarre questions like, "Arey, hey, You do not look hearing impaired. Okay. Oh, do you know? Yaar, you speak so well, yaar. You talk so well. Wow, you're so beautiful. I cannot believe you have some disability. I cannot believe you can't hear. Okay, what am I supposed to make of this now? Or, being hearing impaired actually has some amazing advantages, like, अरे हम समझ सकते हो यार, लेकिन अच्छा है यार, सोचना तुझे बॉस के किटकिटी नहीं सुनने पड़ेंगे अब से, या फिर अरे हाँ ठीक है, लेकिन सोचना अब तुझे बॉयफ्रेंड के तानों से छुटकारा, बस बॉयफ्रेंड के ताने अब सुनने ही नहीं होंगे तुझे, बॉयज का किटकिट तो सुनना ही नहीं होगा, कलीग्स के किटकिट नहीं होंगे. Okay, man, let's clap for this wonderful logic right now. Let me tell you this. Being hearing impaired isn't about tuning out or moving out just the objectionable sounds of, say, your boss or your husband or your boyfriend. It is about staying in a complete silent world all the time. And it can get very, very lonely. It can get very lonely many of the times. It is not about tuning out just the sounds you don't like. I do not have that choice. Where everyone may have, I don't have that choice. It is about staying in a complete silent world, a lonely world basically. I have to say this, many a times, shopkeepers have also tried to overcharge me when they realize that I can't hear shopkeepers. But I have to say this, that I have come across many good Samaritans also who have gone out of their way to help me in situations when I was stuck. For example, how can I forget that old man who came to my rescue when he saw that the tailor refused to talk to me after he found out I can't hear. Or that young lady who fought with the shopkeeper when he tried to overcharge me when I was trying to buy one earring. Or that suave lady in Paris where I had gone for an advocacy training program. She used speech to text fully to direct me to the metro station. She was very, very sweet at that time. There are people out there, I can say that, who help simply by their willingness, simply by their open mind to help. You can also be one. All of you can be the change makers out there. Every one of you. Here's how you can do it. They are my doctors. My doctors have been very patient with me and have explained me everything to me. And they have been tirelessly worked for me, and they have patiently answered all my questions over there. All of you can be, every one of you here can be a change maker and make our society more inclusive. Here's how you can do it. First, be patient. Whenever you see an hearing impaired person around you, involve her in all your conversations. Do not assume that because she can't hear, she's not interested, or that she doesn't want to interact, or she's quiet, or that she's actually fine with it. No, she's not. She's also a person just like everyone sitting here. It's only because she can't hear. Simple. That is why she's not able to involve. So you guys have to take the effort to involve us in the conversation. Secondly, have an open mind. Just because a person can't see or hear doesn't mean he or she can't participate. We also have brains, we are also educated, we are also there. Have an open mind when you approach people. Next, put subtitles in your videos. Whenever many of the TED ones have subtitles, which is very nice for me. So always put subtitles in your videos. Most of the films, our films don't have subtitles. which I was a big, big movie buff, very big movie buff. I knew every film I had watched every week. All of a sudden, I could not watch movies because our films didn't have subtitles. But when I spoke to my cousin in Australia, she told me that there, every film has subtitles. They keep the needs of the hearing impaired in mind. For them, this is first. Because everyone can watch movies. And we also have to watch movies. यार हम थोड़ी घर पे बैठने वाले ऐसे हमें भी movies देखना हमें भी गाने सुनना. So then put subtitles. Talk slowly, write in notepads. Use speech to text. Very good technology to help everyone. My 8-year-long battle with TB and then disability made me realize how much our thoughts are conditioned according to our society's expectations. So we are conditioned to aim for a stable career by 25, go on a foreign tour by 27, buy a house by 35, buy a car by 36, and so on. I also had all those dreams, same dreams. But what happens when those very dreams get jeopardized in a matter of minutes? What do you do then? Today when I think where I am in my career after a 4-year gap versus my peers or my own expectations of where I wanted to be, yes, it definitely hurts. But I know that my life has been different. So is everyone else's. So maybe we can say that success is about taking things as it comes head on and moving forward. Can we define success that way? That we take things as it comes in life and we move forward and find solutions and get ahead in life. We could define success that way too. So everyone here always tell this that alter your dreams according to your present realities, but never ever stop dreaming about what you want. Trust me when I say this, your dreams, even the smallest of ones, can be your biggest source of hope, motivation, and resilience every time in your life. When I say, trust me that your dreams will come true, may not be in the way you had thought, may not be in the way you had imagined, but it will come true one day. Have the faith, strive, it will come true surely. And lastly, like I always say to everyone, every situation in life offers you two options. Okay? So you have two solutions. Bhaglo, you run away from it. Or second one, again a Hindi word, face it, participate in it. One Hindi word, two different connotations, completely. The choice, my dear friends here, is yours. Thank you.